Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 8, Chapter 8, verses 26 through 34. Churning of the milk ocean. Actually, this pastime is pretty important for people because a lot of good things came from the milk ocean. The full story is not here. The full story is in Skanda. It's actually in Skanda Purana. They got a lot more there. The Tamil Brahmins say that whatever you want, you can probably find it in Skanda, because Skanda is really big. It's got 800,000 Sanskrit shlokas or something. It's really big and really long. Tulsi Rani also manifested from the milk ocean, and that's not stated in Bhagavatam. It's not surprising, but it's very interesting stuff, And in Padma Purana, Shrishtikanda Tulsi Stava, 2 times she's referred to as Ksharona Matanodbhute, who has appeared from the milk ocean. So, her appearance from the milk ocean is not in doubt. All right, anyway, we'll read for the pleasure of devotees. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. The inhabitants of Gandharva Loka and Charana Loka then took the opportunity to play their musical instruments such as conch shells, bugles, and drums. They began dancing and singing along with their wives. They were happy. When you dance and sing, you were overjoyed. This was a neat time to rejoice. And they did so. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Shloka number 26. Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, the great sage, Angira, similar directors of universal management, showered flowers and chanted mantras, indicating the transcendental glory of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They were very happy that things were going good for them. 28. All the demigods, along with the Prajapatis and their descendants, being blessed by Lakshmiji's glance upon them, were immediately enriched with good behavior, transcendental qualities. Thus they were very much satisfied. There is a neat shloka in Hari Bhakti Vilas, chapter 7, verse 279. Yatha Lakshmi Priya Vishnos Tulasi Cha Tatorika. It says, as Lakshmi Devi is dear to Lord Vishnu, Tulsi is even more dear. So it's described by Prabhupada a little bit. 3rd Canto, chapter 16, verse 21. There, it's stated that the Lord said, Lakshmi Devi stays with me because of the benedictions of the Brahmanas. Prabhupada says, by saying it, the Lord is being sarcastic, actually, because the Lord doesn't need the benedictions of the Brahmanas for his wife Lakshmi Devi to stay with him. He says, actually, it appears that Lakshmi Devi is attached to the opulence of the Lord. Therefore, she stays. Now, how is Tulsi bitter? Well, Lakshmi Devi is chala. She has to go. And then Brahmavarta Purana, it was stated that Tulsi had begged the Lord that she may never leave his lotus feet. And the Lord agreed. So she is achala. She's very chaste. She doesn't go. Achala. She doesn't go. She doesn't travel. Because she's very chaste. And she always stays at the lotus feet of the Lord. Yet Chala, she goes to her devotees. Now, what is interesting is I have the Sanskrit to prove so many ways that Tulsi Rani is Janani, the mother, and Jagadatri, the mother of the universe. If you're ready to be a child, she's ready to be your mother. Big time. And basically she'll come in the heart just like Paramatma, to give you brains, to give you encouragement. And she is more accessible than Krishna. Now Krishna may be very difficult to understand. Bhishmadev says in 1st Canto, chapter 9, verse 46, Nahi yasya karichida rajana pungsan eva viditsatam charavijigyasaya yukta muyanti kavayopihi. Very difficult to ascertain the plan. Jai Nath. Radha Gokulananda, Sitaram Lakshman Hanumanji, Gorna Jai, Tulsi Rani Ki Jai. Very difficult to ascertain the plan of the personality of Godhead. Great sages and saintly persons acquire exhaustively, yet they're bewildered. But in Hari Bhakti Vilas, chapter 9, verse 103, it says, Shriyam Dehi, give me wealth. Yasha Dehi, give me fame. Kirtam, give me effulgence. Ayush, duration of life. Tata Sukha, and happiness. Balam, strength. Pushtim, nourishment. Tattadharama, and religiosity. Tulosi Tvam Prasida me. Oh, Tulsi, if you're pleased with me. So a child can get the straight story from his mother, because she's in charge of Ayush, like that. Ma, what's going to happen? And if she comes in the heart and tells you the strategy, then Krishna has to come later because she already spilled the beans, She already told the story, And so it's really neat, actually. She is the internal part of the internal potency, and she's very compassionate. And in her role in Goloka, nothing happens in Krishna's Leela without her involved in everything. Nothing gets offered in the material world without her. Tabayava Murtis Tulasinri Loke. Srila Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur mentions in Vrindadevastakam Shloka 7, your form in the world of men is the Tulsi plant. Basically, if you got any problems, and hey, we got a lot. Anybody that's got this material body has got a lot of problems. And hey, we have our idiosyncrasies. Everybody is better than some and worse than others. Like that. And everybody's got a few screws loose. And some people got screws a little bit looser than others. And we also have, aside from that, we have our depression. We have our depression, like that. And there's nothing more satisfying to anybody to know that you got a friend. Krishna's ready to be your friend. Tulsi Rani's ready to be your mother. And it's so comforting. God, somebody loves me. Just like, for example, in the prison house. We're all in the prison house of this world. So if of this world, this body, prison. So the prisoners, they always love a pen pal. Oh God, they just look forward to getting a letter from their friend, and they rip it open with great happiness, and they write, reply. They love it. God, I'm in the jail, and everybody hates me. I'm in the jail, and somebody loves me. God. In our interpersonal relationships, people just tolerate our existence. They don't love it. It's a trade-off. Now, I get something from you. You give something to me because I give something to you. It's a trade-off. There's very few, just like husband-wife relationships. In Indian culture, it should be one mind and two bodies. If you find that, nobody has any objection. The difficulty is getting that in Kali Yuga. One mind and two bodies is very difficult to get in Kali Yuga. Krishna happens to be cheaper and sweeter. Basically, Bali Maharaj mentioned in 8th canto, chapter 22, verse 9, quoting Prahlad Maharaj, that family members, wife and children, they're basically legalized burglars. Prabhupada was saying in the class, if a burglar comes, you call the police. If your spouse and child comes, this is love. How they pick my pocket. The male child picks the mother's pocket and female child picks the father's pocket. Legalized burglar, And the wife, whoever's the best person, the business lady or businessman, then the other weak one picks the other's pocket. It's natural, Legalized burglar, So it's interesting, And there's nothing like a wife and kids to spend money like hell. And nowadays in Kali Yuga, due to improvements in vitro fertilization and this like that, if the lady is fried with some guy, she doesn't even need the guy now. She doesn't even need the guy. The guy gives the seed and pays the bills, but the kid is everything, The lady doesn't even need the guy now. Basically, I have this in Sanskrit, in Tulsi Kavacham. It was mentioned that Garbe Datte Manoharam in shloka number 15 in Tulsi Kavacham, that a barren girl will have a child by Tulsi Rani's blessing that captivates her mind. Although garbe datte manoharam means that a child will become which captivates a lady's mind. They should know that a lady is more happy with her child than chaste to her husband. You know, husband can be expendable, but the kid is everything, you know, like that. And I asked two Sudvis in South Africa. And on a Wednesday, I visited one Sudvi. Her husband was at work. And I said, Mother, we heard that a mother loves her child more than she loves her husband. Is it true? I've heard that. I don't know. I don't have a child. Later on, about a year and a half later, I saw her with her husband in Durban Ratha Yatra. She goes, I can answer the question now. Yeah. And her husband just threw it over his shoulder like, oh, well, hey, life goes on. You know, he's also my friend, you know, like that. Then another Sudvi told me, naturally, a woman holds a child in the womb for 9 months and is always absorbed in the moral benefits of the child. You know, naturally, a mother loves her child more than she loves her husband. It's natural psychology, you know, like that. Interesting stuff. So, this shloka says that Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, the great sage, under his symbol directors, showered flowers and chanted mantras, the transcendental glories of the personality of Godhead. And all the demigods, along with Prajapatis and their descendants, being blessed by Lakshmiji's glance upon them, were immediately enriched with good behavior, transcendental qualities. They're very much satisfied. 29. Nisattva lolupa rajan narudyoga gatatrapa yada kopakshita lakshmya babuvur Daityadanava. O king, because of being neglected by the goddess of fortune, the demons and Rakshasas were depressed, bewildered, and frustrated. Thus they became shameless. Text 30. Atasid Varuni Devi Kanya Kamalalochana Asura Jagruhus Tamvai Harer Anumatenate. Next appeared Varuni, the lotus-eyed goddess who controls drunkards. With the permission of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, the demons, headed by Bali Maharaj, took possession of this young girl. Varuni, who controls drunkards. And the demons are famous drunkards. And Balaram was also, but his is different. Varuni Devi is also considered to be one of his consorts, you know, like that. But although Balarama likes to get intoxicated sometimes on Kadambari, and I still didn't get the recipe. What is that, you know? What is it made of? What is it? Kadambari. It means it is a liquor made out of fermented kadamba flowers. Must have been God, you know. Some honey, you know, fruits, something, you know, mashed together, made a drink, you know, like that. It's Varuni, you know, like this. Now, in Bhakti Sandarbha, it's mentioned that if it's intoxicating, bhaktas can't take it. Now, the reason why Jiva Goswami mentioned it, because in Baldau, which is a town near Mathura, other side, the pujaris offer the Dauji deity bhang, you know, marijuana drink, and they drink the prasadam. So evidently Jiva Goswami didn't want people to do that, you know. In Jiva's day, it was going on evidently. So Jiva Goswami literally wrote it out. It's forbidden. If the Varuni is intoxicating, don't take it, you know, like that. Don't take the remnants, you know. We can give it to Dauji, right. Throw it in the Yamuna, you know. Just like Pan, you know. Pan has got a buzz, slightly intoxicating. You can offer it to the personality of Godhead, but you can throw it right in the Yamuna. Right afterwards. It's the same kind of thing, you know. My godmother Karma used to give a Varuni beverage drink that they used to offer on Dauji's appearance day. Made out of honey and crushed fruits and stuff. It was fresh, you know, like that. It was fresh. And you made it. And it contained a lot of honey. And woo! You know, it was rocket fuel stuff. You know, definitely not for brahmacharis to drink, but just take a little sip and go on, you know, like that. Better to take stuff with a lot of yogurt. It doesn't have much rocket fuel in it, you know, like that. It's not too sweet, too sickening sweet, you know, like that. So like that. If it's too sickening sweet, then you're not going to be able to drink a lot of it. Drink a little bit, like that, just to honor, Only Dauji can do it. And Dauji in Govinda Vallabha Natakam is completely smashed a lot on Kadambari. So much smashed, so much intoxicated, he doesn't know which way to go. In the third act, he wants to be with the boys, And so he goes to the Yamuna, and he's seeing double. The boys in the Yamuna and the boys in the bank of the Yamuna. Which should I be with? So he jumps in the Yamuna. And then the other boys who were his friends, Mandali Bhadra, Varun Tapa, Mahabala, they're monsters. Vijay, they're big boys. Mahabala, they're big boys. They're muscular, they're huge. And they go, well, you could get hurt. And Balaram says, I'm having too much fun. So they drag him out of the Yamuna by force. And then he goes, is there anything left in the jug? I'm thirsty. So Krishna turns to Madhumanga, what should we do? And Madhumanga looks at Dauji and goes, don't give it to him. So Krishna has to think fast on his feet, and he goes, the matka. Oh, sorry. It must have dropped and broken. Then Dauji goes, everybody's got their tiffin on the bank of the Yamuna. They're broke open, their tiffin, they're eating. Now where's mine? One boy threw it to a second boy threw it to a third boy threw it to a fourth. So Krishna goes, we have to trace it. So Dauji got angry. I don't have my drink and my tiffin, so he starts to chase the boys, and the boys scatter in all directions. Then Pravishad Gita Kirti. At night, the boys are going to come home and they're going to spill the beans. So Dauji started to feel about that. The boys are going to spill the beans. So he turns and says, Krishna, you're not going to tell my mother Rohini had too much to drink in the forest, are you? Me! I'm your younger brother. I just do whatever you say. But I can't say anything about these boys. So then Dauji goes up to the boys. You're not going to say anything to my mother that I had too much to drink, are you? Me! We want to play with you from tomorrow. So Krishna says, see, you don't have to worry about me, and you don't have to worry about my friends. But this Brahmin is a truthfully speaking chap. So Balaram went to Madhu. Madhu, you're not going to say anything to my mother Rohini I had too much to drink, are you? Madhu, you're not going to say anything that I had too much to drink in the forest, are you? Madhu, you're not going to say anything that I had too much to drink in the forest to my mother Rohini, are you? Then he ties his seek up to the tree and he starts to tickle him. Let me go. Okay, I want to play with you for tomorrow. I won't say nothing. Promise? I won't say nothing. And let him go. Interesting story. So, actually, there was Sridhama and Sudama were talking in the beginning of in middle of act number 1. And Dauji goes, what is this? You're talking and you're not putting me into it? Well, we want to invite you to our house. And what will you give us? Everything in our house belongs to you. Well, will you give us wine? And Sridhama goes, yeah. Is that a fact? Yes. Then let's go immediately. and Dauji and Krishna take the shortcut. Everybody is going, on the long road through Nandagram. It takes like, from Nandagram to Varshana. What is that? 10 kilometers? Something like that. And Balaram and Krishna and the boys went to Sanket. It went through a shortcut road to get there quicker. So halfway there, then Sridham tells Sudama, hey, go tell our mothers that that's what they wanted. What you wanted is now coming to pass. So Sudama went ahead, and the mother of Sudama, which is Chandrabanu's wife, Shushila, she goes, Sudama, what are you doing here? And you're here without your brother Sridhama. Mother, that which you wanted is coming to pass. Krishna and Balaram are coming to our house. Really? So then he turns to Kirtida and goes, call the girls. We should have a festival. We should make everything ready for them. So it was described that the girls, they got all these girls with mango leaves and uludvani, like this, and and their coconuts on their heads and this and that. And they made a swagatam, welcome ceremony for Krishna and Balaram come. So Sushila's offering a golden thali to Krishna and Balaram, welcome. And then Kirtida gets nervous. Hey, Sridhama, what should we give Krishna and Balaram? He goes, Kadambari. Sura, liquor, Sura, will that be appropriate? Well, I promise, mother. So then she pulls out a matka of Kadambari, and she gives it. And so Balaram grabs that and swings it around in circles and dances. He goes, Krishna, would you like to have this? This is nice. On second thought, you're a little young. It's like, Dauji and Krishna are like, what is it? Well, it's only basically 7-8 days different, And Dauji quaps half of it down. And Jadaveda Maharaj laughed. He goes, really, Balaram was getting drunk at 6 years old? 6, 7 years old, Balaram was drunk, yeah. Then Kirtida goes, Dauji, if you're pleased, could I beg another benediction? Anything, mother, name it. Could you please bless my 2 sons, Sridham and Sudam, in the forest? But mother, I'm already doing that. And she brings out another matka of Kadambari. And Krishna and Madhumangal see it, and they go, like this. And she hides it behind her back, like that. No, don't give it to him. He's already smashed enough, He's smashed enough with Kadambari, It's interesting stuff, Whole past. And then by Act 5, all the boys are smashed. It's like, evidently Kadambari was something that they gave. It's a Brajavasi thing. They gave it, in the forest. And everybody used to take it, in Vrindavan, And they were totally smashed on this Kadambari, all the time, Kadambari was evidently a very common thing. I'm yet to get the exact recipe, which I should probably print with Jiva Goswami's warnings. This is not for sadhus or sadhvis, but this is the recipe, because there is a saying, a man convinced against his will is of the same opinion still. It's like using Tulsi Rani for medicine, We don't like it, but we can't stop it. It goes on. We can say, all right, okay, if she's offered to Lord Vishnu, it'll be more potential. You want to get more bang for your buck, for your medicine? Then offer it to Lord Vishnu. What constitutes bona fide use? Well, I thought, if it's small scale and offered to the deities, you get away with it. Now, what constitutes a bona fide small scale industry? Basically what we really object to is impersonal, factory produced stuff. But what constitutes a bona fide small-scale industry? When does the border happen? When it goes from homemade to factory-produced, I haven't answered that question yet, What constitutes a bona fide small-scale industry? But there's one thing is for sure. Lakshmi Devi is very neat, and people really like her benedictions a lot, And Tulsi's better. Now, what is interesting about her is that she's actually better. She's not a poor girl. She can pay for it. Now everybody needs wealth in this world. So if you chant Tulsi Kavacham in Vishnu's temple, then Lakshmi Devi will give you money like that. So one devotee who I know, householder devotee, hacker cracker, friend of mine, has a wife and 2 legalized burglars. And basically, he was saying, oh God, I would be so happy if I didn't have to do this software business, like that. And like that, software designing, I could just work for sadhus and be happy if I could get the money I need to maintain my family. I chanted Tulsi Kavacham in Vishnu's temple for his puja room, for 40 days, and I didn't get it. And I go, you didn't get it. You have to beg a little harder. You beg a little more, beg a little harder, it's like that. Now, if you're not getting it, gee, maybe Lord Vishnu wants to set another example, wants to improve your vairagya, improve your detachment, and like this. Prabhupada said that Krishna was father. He gives you slap or he gives you rasgulla, but he's father. So sometimes, sometimes we don't get what we ask for, like that. We just have to beg a little more. If you beg Tulsi Rani, then she'll give it. We just have to beg a little more. A whole bhakti process is a process of begging. All right, we'll get a little bit more. Shloka 31. Atodader mat yamanat kasha bhair armatar tibi odatishtan maharaja purusha paramadbhuta. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. O king, thereafter, while the sons of Kashyapa, both demons and demigods, were engaged in churning the ocean of milk, a very wonderful male person appeared. 32. Dirga Pivarador Danda Kambu Grivo Arunekshana Shamalas Taruna Shragvi Sarva Bharanabhushataihi. He was strongly built, his arms were long, stout, and strong. His neck, marked by 3 lines, resembled a conch shell. Eyes were reddish, complexion was blackish. He was very young, garlanded with flowers. His tartan body was fully decorated with various ornaments. 33. Pitavasa Mohor Raska Somrishta Manikundala Snegda Kunjita Keshanta Subhaga Simavikrama Amrita Purna Kalasham Bibrad Valayabhushata. He was dressed in yellow garments and wore brightly polished earrings made of pearls. The tips of his hair were anointed with oil. His chest was very broad. His body had all good features. He was stout and strong like a lion, and he was decorated with bangles. In his hand he carried a jug filled to the top with nectar. Today's shloka. Savai Bhagavata Sakshat Vishnor Samsa Sambhava Dhanvantari iti khyata Ayurveda Drigija Bhak. Synonyms. Saha, he. Vai, indeed. Bhagavata, of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Sakshat, directly. Vishnu, of Lord Vishnu. Amsa, Sambhava, incarnation of the plenary portion of a plenary portion. Dhanvantari, iti, thus. Khyata, celebrated. Ayurveda Drik, fully conversant in the medical science. Ijabak, one of the demigods eligible to share the benefits of sacrifices. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. This person was Dhanvantari, a plenary portion of Lord Vishnu. He is very conversant with the science of medicine, and as one of the demigods, he is permitted to take a share of sacrifice. Purport. Srila Madhvacharya remarks, Te sam satyach chalanartham harir dhanvantarir vibhu samartho pi asaranangatu svahastad Amuchat Shrudam. Dhanvantari, who was carrying the jug containing nectar, was a plenary incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But although he was very strong, the servants were able to take the jug of nectar from his hands. They stole it. So it's kind of, well, Dhanvantari is interesting. It's described in Agni Purana a lot. Agni Purana's got a lot of information. Garuda Purana has a lot too. All about medicinal stuff. That's good for people. And like that. Now, Bhagavatam, 7th canto, chapter 13 says, Kvedam Kalevaram. What is this body? Asesha Rajam Viroham, a holding container of various diseases. So, what is well? Wellness simply means less diseases are there today. Now, health is good, but Bhaktisiddhanta's Amritasvani, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's Amritasvani said, we are here for a very short while. If the body wears out by constant service to Lord Hari, our efforts will be crowned with success. Physical illness with Hari Bhajan is preferable to physical fitness without Hari Bhajan. So, health is not bad. Hey, doing a few yogasanas and stuff like that to stay healthy is not bad. Doing pratyekara, some, basically reformatory practices. Jainath. Man. A few reformatory practices is not bad, for health, but not at the expense of bhajan, specifically chanting like that. Health is okay, hey, but not at the expense of our chanting, not at the expense of our sadhana. Sadhana is more important than anything else. And good health is secondary, like that. Keep that in mind. At the same time, why do we have good health anywhere? Bhagavatam, 1st canto, chapter 2, verse 9, verse 10. One should desire a healthy body inasmuch as it's made for the human form of life for self-realization, and nothing else should be the goal of one's work. So basically, one has a right to have a healthy body, but only for Krishna's service, like that. Only for Krishna's service. And so that's what a Vaishnava and Vaishnavi wants. Now, what did he die of? He died of SIDS, standard ISKCON dietary side effects. Basically, the stuff we're offering the deities is okay, but there was a funny story that Burijan also tells. It happened in Vrindavan, that one prostitute wanted to do a bandara, a feast, on the parents' day of her father. So she gave a donation, to the deity. And the deity's prasad was fed to a bunch of sadhus. And the sadhus didn't know. And at night they all dropped their vital force. Now, one guy drops his vital force, it's not a big deal. But all 50? Wait a minute, And so they thought, what's going on? So they went to the head mahant of all those 50 sadhus, went to the pujari and said, ask the Lord, what's going on, And the Lord said, hey, look, I can purify everything. I can eat everything. Doesn't mean you can, So just because it's offered doesn't mean that we gotta eat it, like that. Nowadays, people are cooking because they have to, not because they want to, It's really different, like that. Before, used to drive halfway across town just to get some prasadam. It was so good, Here or anywhere else, prasadam was happening, like that. And we used to join. Then we were thinking, where am I going to get such prasadam? Nowadays people in Auckland, they were saying, Sunday feast is less. And I thought, people are voting with their feet. What to do, nah? if the quality of stuff in the prasadam, in the temple, is less than what they can get at home, why should I take the trouble of jumping in my car and driving halfway across town to get it? People are voting with their feet. So if you want to increase the Sunday feast attendance, increase the quality of the prasadam. Now, Prabhupada said about feeding Krishna. Krishna is hungry, proportionate to the greed to give it to him. Doesn't matter, garland, some cloth, some food stuff. When you're greedy to present it, Krishna's greedy to accept it. Sometimes he'll even send his courier to take it. Your offering. That is really neat. I'm from an old cook background, okay? In the old days, 35, 40 years ago, they used to have 4 kinds of medals, awards. And if the gold medal was when it was stolen. You got off the altar and was stolen, and you don't know who stole it. Because if the devotee stole it, maybe Krishna stole it first, and then we found out later. It turned out the president was a very voracious eater. Now, you got off the altar, the silver medal is you got off the altar and it wasn't stolen. It means the president was busy. Why they didn't steal it? They have to be tweaked a little more. If the fire doesn't roar with one bite, cook failed. Like that. If it's not stolen, cook failed. If the doll is dull, cook failed. This doll is dull. The doll is the hallmark of a cook. They have to really know how to. They have to really, if they can make dal good, tasty, then that is a good cook. Like that. And the iron medal. Oh wait, the bronze medal was you cooked it for the Sunday feast and it's gone. There's not a drop left for the stragglers. You don't cook for who might come. You cook for who you know are coming. Because any cook has got dry goods stocked. You give me 20 minutes and 50 people and they'll be fed. We're not cooking for who might come. We're cooking for who we know are coming. And the booby prize was the iron medal left over. Why is it left over? Nah. Why was it left over? They didn't like it? You made too much? There was some unwritten rules that kept the cooks on their toes. If the cook makes it kacha, cook eats it. If the cook makes too less, cook starves. If the cook eats too much, cook eats it, If the cook burns it, cook eats the burnt part. It kept the cooks on their toes. It kept the cooks on their toes. And actually, nobody does that these days, but actually it was happening. And I learned a lot of tricks from my godbrothers. A lot of tricks of the trade. One trick was if, like, you have some daily sweet, some gulab jamuns or something like that, and the sugar water goes off, okay? If the sugar water goes off, you simply boil it again. And all the bacteria goes out. It doesn't taste the same. Like any drink. You got an herbal tea, something like that. If it goes fermented, you boil it again. And it's not going to taste the same, but it's not going to mess your stomach. Another trick was, if you accidentally burn something, we used to have some tricks. Just like, suppose you burn some sweet rice. That's not a joke. Come on. You got 30 liters of milk and you burnt the damn stuff, Pooh! First business is smell it. Is it bad? Maybe you transfer it into another pot, okay? And test it again. Maybe not so bad, And then you continue. Or, if it's bad, don't push the bottom. Because the burn will come up from the bottom. Transfer it immediately. But if the milk was really bad, if the milk was burnt, we would put a little bit of, like vanilla bean, like that. We would put vanilla bean in it. And if it was really bad, we would put vanilla bean, we would put cinnamon, we would put nutmeg in it, and you caramelize the sugar. Keep the sugar separate, and you caramelize the sugar and throw it in, Then if they have all 4, they really burnt the hell out of it, If you got all 4 things in there, they really burnt the hell out of it, And you were trying, who Who burned it? You burned it. When things were burnt, it's like, or milk was boiling over. Who was going to hell? Isn't it like that? The milk was boiling over on the stove or something like that. Who's going to hell? And if they burnt the sweet rice 4 times, oh man, if they got all 4 things, they really burnt the hell out of that stuff. And you always put the sugar at the end, because you may have to caramelize it. If the sweet rice is good, then you don't have to caramelize it, and you may have to caramelize the sugar. So you keep it at the end, and you put the caramelized sugar and add it at the end. We had all these tricks in the trade. Another trick was if you have a burnt pot, suppose you burnt the subji, or you burnt something, burnt the rice or something, like that. Then you put a little bit of water and put a bunch of baking soda and leave it for a half an hour, and that stain will come up easier. Scrub it clean off easier. We had all these tricks of the trade, which you were handed down from one cook to another cook, like that. And some of them we learned the hard way, We had to suffer first. And then your friends, what the hell they do that to you for? Nah. Just like I learned a lot of tricks, like that. I learned a lot of tricks in the old days because of all that. So Dhanvantari was famous. Agni Purana is full of lots of stuff. Ayurvedic medicine. Garuda Purana, full of it. Plenty of stuff you'll get. There's Shushruta Samhita, Charak Samhita. Basically it all Ayurvedic stuff. Ayurvedic medicines. And it's all originally coming from Dhanvantari. Dhanvantari gave it. But it was described as soon as the demons saw the nectar, even though he was strong, they grabbed it. They grabbed it from him. They wanted the nectar, and they didn't have any etiquette. Here's an expansion of the personality of Godhead. They didn't care. They just wanted the nectar, and they stole it. So even though he was strong, like that, they grabbed it from him like that. So it's interesting stuff. Now, and the demigods were morose. Oh, they were bummed out. Oh boy, And then the Lord said, "Don't worry about it. I'll get it back." And he manifested himself as Mohini Murti, just to bewilder the minds of the demons, and steal the nectar and give it. And it was described that Rahu went between Surya and Chandra to drink nectar, and they fingered him. So this is why, because the nectar, Mohini Murti cut his head off. And because the nectar, he drank some of the nectar, Rahu's head went up in the firmament and lived. Later on, his body fell down. And later on, it was also rejuvenated and came back. It became Ketu, means indecisive energy. It also became rejuvenated also. Ketu was the body of Rahu, cut off. Now, I got some interesting pramanams that garlic and onion, and I was always remember, why in the hell Vaishnavas don't like garlic and onion? I remember when I was in 10th standard thinking like that. 15-year-old kid, like that, before I became a devotee. And one of my biology teachers said, the onion plant doesn't have a proper way to eliminate its toxins. So that tangy taste that everybody likes, the stool of the onion plant. So I pulled out Bhagavad Gita, chapter 17, verse 10. Yatayam yam gatarasyam puti parayusha tamachayat uchistamapi cha medyam bhojanam tamasapriyam. And I showed it to him. Wow. And he bought the whole Bhagavad Gita for $5. How much is this? Oh, it's a nice book, $5, All my teachers got it, and he got it. That was an interesting story. So, there's 2 itihasas why we don't like. So, one Brahmana was doing a Go-Meda Yagya. And an old cow was being rejuvenated to a young cow to test the efficacy of the mantras. So the Brahmana's wife wanted to taste some of the flesh, so she stashed some. He caught her. From the white flesh sprang garlic, and from the red flesh sprang onions. Interesting. Another one, is when Mohini Murti cut off the head of Rahu, some of the blood flowed from his neck and hit the ground and produced onions and garlic. So, like garlic is mentioned in Ayurvedic texts for some infections. But because it increases taste for tamasic, it has to be taken for short-term duration only. Pills, something like that. Short-term duration only. Not to mess you up with an attachment for tamasic vritti. That's the idea. So these are some of the things. And when the devotees in Tirupati showed these to the Brahmanas in Tirumala, they literally kicked out onion and garlic out of their kitchens on top of the hill. It's still going on in the lower section of Tirupati because, people are attached in the restaurants and they got to make a buck and they're doing it, But basically, this is the reality. Why onion and garlic are not taken by devotees. Interesting stuff. So, that's what's stated about Dhanvantari. Dhanvantari is neat. And there's actually, in Indonesia and Bali, there's actually only one temple that has a murti. It's a Dhanvantari temple. In Kintamani, like that, just above, near, not far from that volcano, that extinct volcano, Batur, like that. Blew up about, 50 years ago or something like that. But it's considered to be inactive right now. It's on the way to Singaraja, you got to go through there, and it's a hill station, and I sweat like a dog. So I rolled the window down. This is great. We should have a preaching center here, Everybody's got a coat on, and I roll down the window. Yeah, it's great, It's great. Batur is great. Woo. Kintamani is good. Anyway, Dhanvantari is the only temple in Bali Dvipa that has a murti. Every other temple doesn't have a murti, doesn't have a form, but Hare Krishna. Hey, can I serve the devotees? Is there any questions anybody's got? If you've got a question, you have a relationship. If you don't have a question, where is your relationship?